Welcome back to Gam Catches Up. So, I figured I'd do a little bit of a time machine here on myself and go back to when I was a kid growing up in South Jersey out in the middle of the Pine Barrens. Now, most people confuse South Jersey with North Jersey whenever you say, I'm from New Jersey. They're two different places. And yes, there is a debate. There is actually a central New Jersey, but it's closer to North Jersey than it is to South Jersey. South Jersey's nothing but pine trees. North Jersey might as well be mini New York City. So anyway, I grew up out in the Pine Barrens when I was younger, and I was about 25 when this story happened, I'd say. I and my friend that was in it, normally when I bring somebody else's name into the story, I'm going to change the name. So I'm just going to call him Danny. I saw Danny every day. We hung out every day. Danny, to describe him, is one of those guys that was a barroom hero. It's the best way I can describe him. He had blonde hair, he had big old puffy lips, scars all over him. This man would get into a fight at the bar 4 nights out of 5 nights in a week. He'd get done working outside, breaking his ass, then he would go to the bar and drink, and 4 out of 5 nights he would get into a fist fight at the local pub. Danny wasn't afraid of anything. Danny would win those fights that he fought. Like every one of them. He was a knockout artist. Truly, truly fearless. And he had this weird voice about him where he would talk, but because he had these larger than normal lips, and we used to always tease him and call him pillow lips, he would talk with this voice. But anyway, back to the actual story. So there's Danny. We had a mutual friend. His name was Murphy. And Murphy, he lived about 2 blocks, maybe 2.5 from my house, if you took the roads, if you walked the roads. And we would walk to each other's houses all the time. This was like normal for us. If you took the woods, there's this wooded path that wasn't far from where the road. Like it started off almost near Murphy's house, and you could take this path, and it literally cut almost a block off your journey. But it was heavy woods. It was sugar sand, so you could see it at night. You could see the trail at night. Still, you have overgrowth, so sometimes you walk and a branch hit you in the face, scratch you up. And none of us ever carried a flashlight at night. There was no point to it. Even when we were taking a trail, we knew that once our feet hit that sugar sand, no matter which way the trail turned or took, you would just follow the sugar sand. Your feet would find the way, even if you couldn't see and it was pitch black like it was on this night. So fast forward, I'm just chilling in my room. I'm playing my Nintendo 64. I'm playing GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. I can't remember which. And next thing I know, the door flies open. And there's Danny. And he's pouring sweat. And I've seen that boy scared exactly twice in his life. And this was one of those times. And he was breathing heavy. And I immediately stopped what I was doing, asked him, are you all right? Yeah, Cam, I'm all right. I'm all right. And I'm toning down, going forward and through all these little stories, I'm going to have to tone down the language or substitute words so I don't get banned from YouTube. So he said, Fluff and something just chased me through the woods. And I'll tell you, this muffin fluffer, whatever it wasn't a deer. It was something. Something else. And he proceeds to tell me the story. Danny leaves Murphy's house. He's walking up the street. Feet find the trail, hits the sugar sand, starts going into the woods. And when he does, he hears a thud out in the road. And then he hears hooves. Click clock, click clock, click clock. Kind of shadowing him as he's walking this trail. Now, it wasn't a deer, according to him. And he would know what a deer sounds like. Most of us hunted when we were kids. Most of us, well, all of us grew up out in the woods, so we know what the different animals sound like. We know what deer sound like. We know what squirrels sound like, raccoons, dogs, squirrels, cats. We know what it all sounds like moving in the woods. We know what it sounds like running down a street. And then this thing starts grunting. And it was doing this, he said it was a deep grunt, but it had this high pitch shrill to it. And he said, I've heard deer in heat. I've heard deer when they're spooked, and sometimes they'll grunt, but this didn't sound like that. So Danny starts running a little bit faster, and the hooves match up with him down the road. Then the next thing you know, he said it hit the woods, and he realized he didn't hear 4 hooves hitting. He only heard 2. So now he's really freaked out, and then all of a sudden, the hooves just stop. The sound just stops. And he stopped with it because now he's scouting through the woods like with his eyes, like he's looking every different direction. He's peering left, he's peering right. He doesn't know where the hell this thing is. It just disappeared. Then all of a sudden, he hears branches break above him, and he hears what he called thudding on the wind. And a better description of it, and he said he didn't really want to believe this, but it sounded like wings hitting the wind. Big wings. So now he's really scared. And he just takes off like a shot. Just bam. He's just running. He's now lost the trail with his feet. He's running in between trees. He's breaking branches. He's getting scratched up, everything else. Sprints directly to my house, right down to my basement. So I turn to Danny and I'm like, that's crazy, dude. Like, yeah, right, sure. And he's like, no, I'm telling you. But the thing is, I know he's scared. I don't think he's making this up, but I'm thinking like, hey, maybe you smoked something a little too good over at Murph's, and now you're seeing things, or it got a little bit more intense. So he said, well, you know what? You still got your sword? I said, yeah. Danny grabs my baseball bat, and I grab my katana. So, all right, let's go out. So we go back out to the street, go back out to the woods, back out to the trail. And it's quiet night. Everybody's asleep. All the lights are off in all the houses. Not even porch lights are on or anything else. And it is a very, very dark, cold night. Next thing I know, I turn to Danny to break his stones. And he, puts one finger up. And I stop talking mid-sentence. And the reason I stop talking mid-sentence is because I hear it too. I hear but it's above us. And it sounds like it's flying in a circle. And it was exactly as he described, the thudding on the wind. Like something big is flying above us. So now I'm starting to tighten my grip on my sword. It's now unsheathed. Like I pulled that sucker right out. And Danny's got the bat. You can see him choking up. And we hear this thing circle above us. And next thing we know, maybe 30 feet away in the woods, we hear branches snapping, crack, 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 and then thud right on the ground. We're looking at each other from side eye, kind of like, all right, you ready for this? And then we hear it start moving towards us through the woods, crunching as it's going. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It starts getting a little bit quicker in its pace. Now it's crunch, 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 crunch. And it's starting to move, and we're hearing branches snap. And I'm hearing this grunting, high-pitched, whining sound. It's almost impossible for me to describe. It was like a snarl crossed with a hard grunt crossed with a scream. I now have Every hair on my body is probably standing on end. Dan has set his feet and is turning his body and is gritting his teeth. The thing's probably about 10 feet from us, and we can see nothing. Not an outline, not a shadow. There's no moon. It's completely dark up this trail except for the sugar sand. I look at Danny, Danny looks at me, and I yell at the top of my lungs, "Fluff this!" I threw my sword in the ground and sprinted for my house. I can hear something running behind me. It's Danny. He did the same damn thing. He just, that was it. We were out. We hear the crunching of the woods. Crunch, 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 crunch. Now it's really getting fast. Then all of a sudden we hear it on the street. My house is probably 2 acres, I'd say, from where the trail actually starts. And by the time we had hit the end of my driveway, we could still hear the thing, but now it's like whatever it is sprinting at us. Neither of us stopped. The one rule, that I've always had is if something's chasing you and you're scared, do not look back. That's how people die in horror movies, okay? And I felt like I was in a horror movie. We ran back in my house and bunkered that door down and just prepared to be attacked. And nothing else happened. That was it. That was the story. To this day, I still don't know what it was. Like, I would love to think it was the Jersey Devil. Maybe, some kind of cryptid that is still out there wandering the woods, or the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. I can't say that for certainty. I still don't know what it was. But it's a true story. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please give me a like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. I've got more stuff coming. Like I said, I'll probably do more old stories like this if you guys had fun with it. You just let me know in the comments. And thank you for listening. Again, I appreciate every one of you. Until next time, I am Gam, and I'm out like a midget in a slam dunk contest. Have a good one.